My suitcase exploded in midair. I watched my clothes rain down onto the front lawn like confetti at a funeral nobody wanted to attend. My silk blouse caught on the rose bush. My husband's old Georgetown sweatshirt, the one I slept in every night since he died, landed in a puddle near the mailbox. Pack your stuff and get out. Kimberly stood on my porch, her face twisted into something ugly and triumphant. My stepdaughter, 34 years old, screaming at me like I was dirt on her shoe. This is my house now. My father's house. You were just the replacement wife. Neighbors stopped mowing their lawns. Mrs. Chun from next door had her phone out recording. The Henderson kids froze mid-basketball game. Everyone watched as my entire life became sidewalk entertainment. Another suitcase flew through the air. This one burst open before it hit the ground. My underwear scattered across the driveway. My medications rolled into the gutter. The jewelry box Marcus gave me on our 10th anniversary cracked against the concrete, and I heard something inside shatter. I'm Lorraine Mitchell, 56 years old. 2 days ago, I buried the love of my life. And now his daughter was erasing me like I never existed. Did you hear me? Kimberly stomped down the porch steps. Her boyfriend Drake appeared behind her, arms crossed, trying to look intimidating. You've got 10 minutes, then I'm changing the locks. My hands didn't shake. My voice didn't crack. I walked slowly across the lawn, stepping over my scattered belongings, and picked up one thing. Just one. The framed photo of Marcus and me on our wedding day. His smile in that picture could light up a whole room. I looked at Kimberly. Really looked at her.
She wanted me to cry.
She wanted me broken. I smiled instead. Okay, I said softly. Her face faltered. Just for a second. She'd expected screaming, begging, fighting. I walked to my car, placed the photo gently on the passenger seat, and pulled out my phone. My fingers were steady as I scrolled through my contacts. Found the name I needed. 1 ring. 2 rings. It's time, I said when he answered. Come tomorrow morning. 9 a.m. sharp. I ended the call and drove away. In my rearview mirror, Kimberly stood in the driveway, surrounded by the ruins of my life, looking confused that victory felt so hollow. She had no idea what was coming. If you're watching from your living room right now, maybe drinking your morning coffee or winding down after work, do me a favor, hit that like button and subscribe. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from because this story is just getting started and you're not going to believe where it goes.
Trust me on that.
48 hours earlier, I was burying my husband. The cemetery grass was still wet from morning rain. Marcus Allen Mitchell's casket gleamed under a gray October sky that seemed to understand grief better than most people do. Mahogany and brass. Expensive. He would have hated the cost and loved the craftsmanship. That was Marcus. An architect who saw beauty in structure, purpose in design. 12 years. That's how long we had together. 12 years of Sunday morning pancakes and terrible puns and falling asleep on the couch during movies we'd sworn we'd finally watch. 12 years of him leaving his reading glasses everywhere and me pretending to be annoyed while secretly loving every chaotic thing about him. Are you even listening? I blinked. Kimberly stood across from me at the graveside, black dress, black sunglasses, red lipstick. She'd been talking, but I'd stopped hearing words 3 eulogies ago. Sorry, what? I asked when you're planning to sort through Dad's things. Her voice was sweet as antifreeze. I'd like some of his personal items. For memories. Memories. She'd visited him twice in the last 2 years.
Twice.
And one of those times was to ask for money. We can talk about it later, I said. Later, when? Her smile didn't move. I'm staying at the house tonight. We can start going through stuff tomorrow. My stomach dropped. Staying at the house? It was my childhood home, Lorraine. I think I'm entitled. Entitled. That word followed Kimberly around like a shadow. She'd been 22 when Marcus and I met, fresh out of college with a marketing degree she never used. Now she was 34, unemployed, living off her father's generosity and her own inflated sense of importance. The funeral director approached, murmuring something about the reception at the church. People were leaving, offering those useless condolences that dissolve the second they're spoken. I'm sorry for your loss. He's in a better place. Time heals all wounds. None of it was true. None of it helped. I knelt by the casket one last time, pressed my palm against the cold wood. I love you, I whispered. I love you, I love you, I love you. Then I remembered. 3 days before the stroke that killed him, Marcus had grabbed my hand across the breakfast table. His grip was urgent, almost desperate. Lorraine, listen to me. I've protected you. Everything's handled. If anything happens, and I mean anything, you trust me, okay? You trust what I've set up. You're scaring me, I'd said.
Don't be scared.
Be ready. I hadn't understood then. I was about to. When I got home that afternoon, Kimberly's white BMW was already parked in the driveway. Behind it sat a U-Haul truck, back doors open like a hungry mouth. I found Kimberly in Marcus's study. She had boxes everywhere. File cabinets open. Desk drawers dumped onto the floor. She was flipping through his personal papers like she was looking for treasure. What are you doing? She didn't even look up. Going through Dad's documents. Making sure everything's in order. Those are private. Not anymore, they're not. She finally met my eyes.
He's gone, Lorraine.
Someone needs to handle his affairs, and let's be honest, you don't know anything about his business. I knew plenty. I knew Marcus had built Mitchell and Associates architecture from nothing. I knew he'd employed 43 people. I knew he'd won awards, designed buildings that would outlive all of us. I knew he kept detailed records of everything because structure mattered to him. I also knew his daughter was lying. Put the papers back, Kimberly. Or what? She stood up, and suddenly her boyfriend Drake filled the doorway. 6'3", gym muscles, neck tattoo. He'd been dating Kimberly for 8 months. Marcus had despised him. You heard her, Drake said. Back off. My heart hammered, but I kept my voice level. This is my home. Both of you need to leave. Kimberly laughed. Actually laughed. Your home? Lorraine, sweetie, let me explain something. This house belonged to my father. He bought it in 1998, 5 years before you even met him. My mother lived here. I grew up here. You were just the second wife who kept him company at the end. Marcus and I were married 12 years. And he was my father for 34. She stepped closer. I don't know what you think you're entitled to, but Dad's assets belong to his family. His real family. I'm his daughter. His blood. His legacy. He loved me. He loved companionship. There's a difference. Her smile was poison. Look, I'm trying to be nice about this. I'm giving you time to pack your personal belongings. But this house, Dad's money, his business, that's mine now. That's how inheritance works. Drake cracked his knuckles. Subtle threat. Not subtle at all. You have 48 hours, Kimberly said. Pack what's yours, and I mean actually yours, not the jewelry or furniture or anything Dad bought, and find somewhere else to live. If you're still here Friday morning, I'll remove you myself. You can't just. I absolutely can. Check the deed if you don't believe me. This house was Dad's before you. Now it's mine. End of story. She walked past me, Drake following. Their footsteps echoed through the house. My house. Our house. The place where Marcus had kissed me goodbye every morning and hello every evening. Where we'd planned to grow old together. I sank into Marcus's desk chair. It still smelled like his cologne. Cedar and something clean, something permanent. On the desk, under scattered papers, I spotted an envelope. My name written in Marcus's handwriting. I picked it up with shaking hands, but before I could open it, Kimberly's voice shrieked from upstairs. And don't even think about taking anything valuable. I'm making an inventory. 48 hours. That's what she'd given me. 2 days to erase 12 years. I slipped the envelope into my pocket and made a decision. If Kimberly wanted war, she'd get something better. She'd get the truth. And the truth was about to destroy her. I met Marcus on a Tuesday. That detail matters because Tuesdays were my therapy days back then. I'd lost my first husband, James, to cancer 3 years earlier. 41 years old, and suddenly a widow. The grief had carved me hollow. I went through the motions, work, groceries, sleep, repeat, but I wasn't really living. I was just not dying. The hospital charity gala wasn't my idea. My sister Rachel dragged me there. You need to get out, Lorraine. You need to remember what smiling feels like. I wore a blue dress I'd bought for James's funeral and never worn again. It felt like bad luck and new beginnings at the same time. Marcus was standing by the donation table, arguing with the coordinator about building codes. Even in a tuxedo, he had his reading glasses on, sketching something on a napkin. I later learned he was redesigning the hospital's west wing in his head because the current layout offended his sense of spatial efficiency. You have strong opinions about hallways, I'd said, walking up. He'd looked at me, really looked, and smiled. I have strong opinions about everything. It's a character flaw. How's that working out for you? Terribly. I'm very successful and deeply annoying. I'd laughed. Actually laughed. First time in 3 years. We talked for 2 hours. About architecture and grief and terrible hospital coffee. He told me about his daughter Kimberly, how proud he was that she'd graduated college, how worried he was that she lacked direction. He told me about his divorce 8 years earlier, how his ex-wife had moved to Arizona and rarely called. I'm not good at being alone, he'd admitted. I fill the space with work, but work doesn't talk back, doesn't laugh, doesn't make you feel like the world's worth waking up for. I'm an expert at being alone, I'd said. It's not an achievement I recommend. He'd asked for my number. I gave it to him. 3 days later, we had coffee. A week after that, dinner. A month later, he kissed me in his car outside my apartment and apologized immediately. Don't apologize, I'd said. I'm 60. You're 44. I'm rusty at this. I might mess it up. Then we'll mess it up together. We didn't mess it up. We built something. Slow and careful, like one of his architectural projects. Foundation first.
Trust.
Friendship. Then love, the kind that sneaks up on you and stays. Kimberly met me 6 months into our relationship. Marcus had warned me she could be difficult, but I'd brushed it off. I taught middle school.
Difficult was my specialty.
She'd smiled when we met, hugged me, called me exactly what Dad needs. But her eyes were cold, calculating, like she was measuring me for a coffin. The first red flag came at Christmas. Marcus gave me a necklace, nothing extravagant, just a silver pendant with a small sapphire. Kimberly's face had darkened. That's pretty, she'd said, voice tight. Must have cost a lot. It's costume jewelry, Marcus had replied quickly. Not a big deal. But it was a big deal to Kimberly. After that, every gift became evidence. Every dinner out was money wasted. Every vacation was resources stolen from her future inheritance. Marcus noticed. God, he noticed. 2 years into our marriage, he'd taken my hands across the kitchen table. I see how she treats you. The little comments. The cold shoulder. I'm handling it, Lorraine. I promise. She's your daughter. She just needs time. She needs consequences. And she's going to get them. I hadn't understood what he meant. Not then. Marcus wasn't cruel. He was methodical. He didn't make threats. He made plans. 3 months before the stroke, he told me he'd met with his lawyer. Everything's set up now. Protected. If something happens to me, you're going to be okay. Better than okay. Nothing's going to happen to you. You're 68 and stubborn as hell. He'd kissed my forehead. Stubborn keeps you alive. Love keeps you honest. I've got both. But stubborn doesn't stop blood clots. Doesn't stop your brain from short-circuiting at 3 in the morning. Doesn't stop you from collapsing in the bathroom and dying before the ambulance arrives. I found him at dawn. Still warm, but already gone. The paramedics said it was fast. Like that was supposed to comfort me. Now, sitting in a hotel room 2 days after his funeral, holding that envelope he'd left on his desk, I finally understood. Marcus hadn't just loved me. He'd armored me. I opened the envelope. Inside was a business card. Lawrence Patterson, estate attorney. And a handwritten note. Asterisk Lorraine, if you're reading this, I'm gone. And Kimberly is being Kimberly. Call Patterson. He knows what to do. I love you. You were never the second anything. You were always the first. Asterisk. My hands were shaking so hard, I almost dropped the card. But underneath the grief, underneath the exhaustion, something else was rising. Hope. And something sharper. Something that tasted like justice. The suitcase hit the ground so hard it cracked open. I was standing in the doorway of what used to be my bedroom, watching Kimberly destroy my life in real time. She'd started with the closet, ripping my clothes off hangers, shoving them into garbage bags. When the bags ran out, she just started throwing. Kimberly, stop. I gave you 48 hours. She spun around, face red, eyes wild. It's been 48 hours. You're still here. So now I'm doing this my way. Drake grabbed another suitcase from the guest room. He was grinning like this was entertainment. Come on, lady. Make it easy on yourself. This is my home. My voice came out smaller than I wanted. Marcus wanted me here. Marcus is dead. Kimberly screamed it so loud I swear the windows shook. He's dead, and you're not family, and I want you out. She grabbed my jewelry box off the dresser. Marcus's mother's pearls were in there. My wedding rings. The sapphire necklace from our first Christmas. Don't touch that. But she was already marching toward the stairs. I followed, heart racing, trying to stay calm. Trying to remember what Marcus had said. Trust me. Trust the plan. But the plan wasn't here yet. And my life was being erased. Kimberly kicked the front door open and hurled the jewelry box onto the lawn. It exploded in midair.
Pearls scattered like teeth.
My wedding ring rolled down the driveway. That's when the neighbors started gathering. Mrs. Chun, the Hendersons, old Mr. Kowalski from the corner house. They stood in their yards, watching. Phones out, recording, whispering. You want a show? Kimberly yelled at them. Here's a show. Gold digger getting exactly what she deserves. She went back inside. Came out with another suitcase. Threw it. Then another. Then she started grabbing things at random.
Books. Shoes.
My grandmother's quilt. The coffee maker Marcus and I bought together on a random Tuesday because ours broke and we'd made it an adventure. Everything. She threw everything. Drake brought out my toiletries and dumped them in the rose bushes. Shampoo bottles burst. My prescription medications rolled across the lawn. He was laughing. I stood there in the driveway, surrounded by the wreckage of my existence, and something inside me went quiet. Not broken. Quiet. The anger was still there. The grief. The humiliation. But underneath all of it was something Marcus had taught me. Something I'd forgotten. Dignity is louder than screaming. I walked slowly across the lawn. Kimberly was panting, sweating, mascara running. She looked unhinged. Desperate. Like she needed me to fight back to justify what she was doing. I didn't fight. I bent down and picked up one thing. Just one. The framed photo of Marcus and me on our wedding day. The glass was cracked, but his face was still clear. Still smiling. Still mine. That's it. Kimberly's voice cracked. That's all you're taking? I looked at her. Really looked. Yeah. That's all that matters. Her face twisted. You can't just. I can. I walked to my car. Opened the door. Placed the photo carefully on the passenger seat. Then I pulled out my phone. Lawrence Patterson answered on the second ring. It's time, I said, voice steady as stone. Come tomorrow morning. 9 a.m. sharp. I could feel Kimberly staring at me. Could feel her confusion, her deflating victory. Who are you calling? She demanded. Lorraine. Who the hell are you calling? I ended the call. Started my car. Looked at her one last time through the window. She had no idea. No idea what Marcus had built. What he'd protected. What was coming for her tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. sharp. I drove away. In the rearview mirror, Kimberly stood surrounded by everything she thought she'd won. Drake's arm around her shoulders. The house, my house behind her. She thought she'd destroyed me. She thought she'd taken everything. Tomorrow, she'd learn the difference between possession and ownership. Between inheritance and entitlement. Between Marcus's daughter and Marcus's choice. Tomorrow, the black Mercedes would arrive. And when she saw who stepped out, when she heard what they had to say, everything she thought she knew about her father's love would shatter, like my jewelry box on the lawn. Are you still with me? Because this is where everything changes. If you're loving the story so far, hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. I need to know you're ready for what comes next, because what happens tomorrow morning will shake this whole story to its foundation.
Stay with me.
I spent that night in a hotel room that smelled like industrial cleaning products and other people's disappointments. I didn't sleep, didn't cry, just sat on the edge of the bed, holding Marcus's photo, waiting for sunrise, waiting for justice. Tomorrow, Kimberly would collapse, and I would finally understand what Marcus meant when he said he'd protected me. Tomorrow, everything would burn, but from those ashes, the truth would rise. And the truth was about to be beautiful. The hotel alarm clock glowed 6:47 a.m. I'd been awake for 3 hours, maybe longer. Time does weird things when you're waiting for your life to either end or begin again. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Mrs. Mitchell? Lawrence Patterson. I'm 40 minutes out. Are you ready? Ready? What a question. Was I ready to watch Kimberly's world implode? Was I ready to find out what Marcus had been planning all those months before he died? I'm ready.
Good.
Meet me at the house. 9 o'clock. Don't be late, and don't engage with her before I arrive. This needs to happen by the book. He hung up. Lawyers don't waste words. Marcus used to say that. Patterson charges by the minute, so he talks like he's texting. I showered. Put on the navy dress Marcus always said made me look strong. Not pretty. Not elegant. Strong. I needed strong today. At 8:52 a.m., I pulled onto Maple Street. My street. The street where I'd lived for 12 years, where I'd planted roses and hosted block parties and belonged. My belongings were still scattered across the lawn. The neighbors had clearly tried to help. Everything was piled somewhat neatly by the mailbox, covered with a tarp. Mrs. Chun must have done that. She'd lost her husband 2 years ago. She understood. Kimberly's BMW sat in the driveway.
Smug.
Possessive. Like it owned the concrete it was parked on. At 8:59, a black Mercedes pulled up behind my car. Lawrence Patterson looked exactly how Marcus had described him. Mid-60s, silver hair, suit that cost more than most people's cars. He carried a leather briefcase that seemed to contain the weight of the universe. Mrs. Mitchell. He shook my hand. His grip was firm, certain. Shall we? The front door opened before we reached it. Kimberly stood there in yoga pants and one of Marcus's old Yale sweatshirts. My stomach turned. She'd already claimed his clothes, already erased him, and wore him at the same time. Lorraine. Her voice dripped fake concern. I'm so glad you came to your senses. Did you bring a truck? Because I'm not helping you load. She stopped. Her eyes landed on Patterson. The color drained from her face like someone had pulled a plug. Mr. Patterson. Her voice barely worked. Ms. Mitchell. He didn't smile. We need to talk. Inside, please. This isn't. Kimberly looked at me, then back at Patterson. What is this? Your father's estate. Inside.
Now.
Drake appeared behind her, still half asleep. Babe, what's going on? Go inside, Kimberly hissed at him. But. Inside. We followed them into the living room. My living room. Every piece of furniture held a memory. The couch where Marcus and I had watched Sunday football. The bookshelf he'd built by hand. The coffee table where we'd eaten takeout pizza and made plans that would never happen now. Patterson set his briefcase on that coffee table. Clicked it open. The sound was like a gunshot in the silence. Ms. Kimberly and Mitchell, he began, pulling out documents. I represent the estate of Marcus Allen Mitchell, your father. I'm here to execute his will and clarify certain legal matters regarding his property and assets. Kimberly's jaw tightened. My father left everything to me. I'm his only child, his daughter. That's how inheritance works. Actually, Patterson said mildly, that's not how your father's estate works at all. He laid the first document on the table. It was thick, official, covered in legal language and notary stamps. This house. The property at 4782 Maple Street. Do you know when your father purchased it? 1998, Kimberly said immediately. 5 years before he met her. She pointed at me like I was evidence.
Correct.
However, in 2019, 6 years after marrying Mrs. Lorraine Mitchell, your father transferred this property into an irrevocable trust. Beneficiary, Lorraine Mitchell. Sole ownership upon his death. The room tilted. That's not, he wouldn't. Kimberly grabbed the document. Her hands were shaking. This is fake. You forged this. It's notarized, filed with the county, and witnessed by 3 attorneys. Patterson's voice never changed.
Calm.
Factual. Devastating. This house belongs to Mrs. Mitchell. It has for 6 years. You are currently trespassing. Kimberly's face went from white to red to purple.
No.
No, this is bullshit. Dad wouldn't cut me out. I'm his daughter. You're his daughter, who hasn't held a job in 7 years, Patterson continued. His daughter, who asked him for money 17 times in the last 2 years. His daughter, who, according to bank records, stole $43,000 from his business account in 2023. The air left the room. I didn't steal, Kimberly whispered. He gave me access to that account. For business emergencies. Not for vacations to Cabo and designer handbags. Patterson pulled out another document. Bank statements. Highlighted charges. Your father hired a forensic accountant. He knew exactly what you were taking. Drake stood up. This is insane. Kimberly, we don't have to listen to this. Sit down, Mr. Torres, or I'll have the police escort you out. Drake sat. Patterson turned back to Kimberly. Your father loved you, but he didn't trust you. And trust, Ms. Mitchell, is what inheritance requires. He laid out another document. The will. I could see Marcus's signature at the bottom. Could imagine him signing it. Jaw set, heartbreaking. Marcus Allen Mitchell's estate, valued at approximately $4.3 million, is distributed as follows. 80% to Lorraine Mitchell, 20% to Kimberly and Mitchell, held in trust, distributed monthly over 10 years, contingent on maintaining employment and attending financial counseling. Kimberly made a sound. Not words. Just a sound like something dying. Furthermore, Patterson continued, merciless. Any attempt to contest this will, any harassment of Mrs. Mitchell, any damage to property or defamation of character will result in immediate forfeiture of your entire inheritance. Your father was very clear on that point. He closed the briefcase. The click echoed. You have 1 hour to remove your personal belongings from this property. After that, I'll contact the police and have you removed for trespassing. Do you understand? Kimberly's legs gave out. She actually collapsed. Fell to her knees on the carpet, hands over her face, shoulders shaking. Drake tried to help her up. She shoved him away. He hated me, she sobbed. My own father hated me. For the first time since entering the house, I spoke. He didn't hate you. She looked up. Mascara running. Face destroyed. He was disappointed. I said quietly. There's a difference. You poisoned him against me. You made him do this. I didn't even know about this until yesterday. I pulled out the envelope Marcus had left. Showed her his handwriting. His final note. He made these choices before he got sick. He made them because he loved you enough to try saving you from yourself. Kimberly's face crumpled. I'm his daughter. I know. I deserve. You deserve exactly what he gave you. A chance. 20% of millions. Financial counseling. A path forward. Most people don't get that much grace. She stared at me. Through me. Like she was seeing something she'd never noticed before. Patterson checked his watch. 57 minutes, Ms. Mitchell. Kimberly and Drake stumbled upstairs. I heard drawers opening. Closets. The sounds of a life being packed in a hurry. I sat on my couch. Marcus's couch. Our couch. Patterson sat beside me. Your husband was thorough. Most people aren't. They assume love is enough. They assume their kids will just understand. Marcus didn't assume anything. When did he set this up? The trust? 2019, right after the first time she asked him for money to start a business that never materialized.
The will?
Updated every year. The last time was 3 months before he died. He knew his health was declining. He knew she'd try something exactly like this. He protected me.
He did.
But more than that, Mrs. Mitchell, he protected her too. That 20% with conditions? That's not punishment. That's a father giving his daughter one last chance to grow up. 40 minutes later, Kimberly and Drake carried their suitcases to the door. She looked smaller somehow. Deflated.
She stopped in front of me.
Opened her mouth. Closed it. Opened it again. "I'm sorry," she finally whispered. "About yesterday. About everything." I didn't respond. Didn't accept the apology. Didn't reject it. Just let it sit there between us like something fragile and too late.
She left.
The door closed. The house was quiet. Patterson stood. "I'll file the paperwork today. The estate will be settled within 60 days. If she contacts you." "She won't." He studied me. "You sound sure." "I am." Because she finally got what she needed. Not what she wanted. What she needed. He left. I was alone. I walked through the house slowly. Every room. Every corner. Remembering Marcus. Remembering us. In his study, I found the desk drawer he'd always kept locked. The key was in the envelope he'd left me. Inside was another letter. My hands shook as I opened it. "My Lorraine, if you're reading this, Patterson has already dropped the truth bomb, and Kimberly has probably either collapsed or tried to fight it. Knowing my daughter, maybe both. I need you to understand something. This wasn't about punishing her. This was about protecting you. You, the woman who taught me that life doesn't end when you think it does. The woman who made me laugh again. Who made coming home the best part of every single day. Kimberly is my blood. But you're my choice. And choice, real choice, means more than biology ever will. I saw how she treated you. The comments. The coldness. I tried talking to her. Tried explaining that you weren't replacing her mother, weren't stealing anything from her. But Kimberly has spent her whole life believing the world owes her something just for existing. I enabled that. Her mother enabled it. And by the time I realized what we'd created, she was already grown. Already broken in ways I couldn't fix. The money I'm leaving her? It's not a gift. It's a mirror. Monthly payments mean she has to budget, plan, think about tomorrow. Financial counseling means she has to face what she's become. Employment requirements mean she has to contribute something to the world besides entitlement. Maybe she'll rise to it. Maybe she'll resent it forever and waste what she gets. That's her choice. But I've given her a chance. That's all a father can do when his daughter refuses to grow up. You, though, you get everything else. Not because you earned it or deserve it, though God knows you deserve the moon, but because I love you. Because every morning I woke up next to you was a gift. Because you saw the man I wanted to be and loved him anyway. The house is yours. The business is yours to sell or keep. The money is yours to live on, travel with, do whatever the hell you want. You gave me 12 years of happiness when I thought I was done being happy. Now I'm giving you security, freedom, the ability to live without fear. Don't feel guilty about it. Don't feel like you have to share it with Kimberly, or make peace with her, or fix what I couldn't fix. Just live, Lorraine. Live big. Live loud. Live like someone who knows they're loved even when I'm not there to say it anymore. I'm sorry I left you too soon. I'm sorry you had to deal with Kimberly alone. I'm sorry for every hard thing that's coming. But I'm not sorry I married you. Best decision I ever made. All my love. All my life. All my tomorrows that I won't get to see. Marcus. I sat on the study floor and cried until I couldn't breathe. Not sad tears. Not angry tears. Something bigger. Something that felt like grief and love and gratitude all crashing together in my chest until I thought I'd break apart. He'd known. Known Kimberly would try this. Known she'd go nuclear the second he was gone. And he'd built a fortress around me anyway. Not to hurt her. To save me. The doorbell rang. I wiped my face. Tried to pull myself together. Opened the door expecting Patterson, maybe, with more documents. It was Mrs. Chun. She was holding a casserole dish. I saw them leave, she said quietly. I'm sorry about yesterday. I should have done something. It's not your fault.
Still.
Nobody should go through that alone. She handed me the dish. Chicken and rice. Nothing fancy. But you need to eat. Behind her, other neighbors were emerging. Mr. Henderson, with a covered plate. The Martinez family, with flowers. Even old Mr. Kowalski, who never talked to anyone, nodded at me from his porch. We didn't know, Mrs. Chun continued. Didn't know the whole story. But we know you. We know you and Marcus were good people. And that girl, she stopped herself.
Well,
what's done is done. They didn't come in.
Didn't pry.
Just left their offerings on the porch and went home. Small kindnesses. The kind that rebuild the world one casserole at a time. I spent the rest of the day cleaning. Kimberly had torn through the house like a tornado, but she'd barely damaged anything. Just moved things.
Disturbed the peace.
I put Marcus's photo back on the mantel, returned his books to their shelves, found his favorite coffee mug, and washed it even though he'd never use it again. In the bedroom, I opened the closet. Half his clothes were gone. Kimberly had taken them, but his favorite flannel shirt was still there. The one he'd worn every Saturday morning. I pressed it to my face. It still smelled like him. Cedar and promises. My phone rang. Unknown number again. Mrs. Mitchell? This is Rebecca Tran from Mitchell and Associates. I was your husband's business partner. I know who you are. Marcus had talked about Rebecca constantly. Brilliant architect. Rising star. The future of the firm. I wanted to reach out before the lawyers did. Marcus left instructions. Very specific instructions. About the business. My stomach tightened. What kind of instructions? He wanted you to have controlling interest. 51%. The rest split between me and the senior partners. But here's the thing, he also left a letter for me, asking me to buy you out, to give you the option to walk away from all of this with a clean settlement. How much? She named a number. My brain couldn't even process it. That's too much. It's fair market value. Marcus built something real. Something that'll outlast all of us. You don't have to decide today. But the offer stands. No pressure. No timeline. After she hung up, I sat in Marcus's office chair. Our office. Where he'd drawn buildings and dreamed futures and planned my protection. He'd thought of everything. Every angle. Every possibility. He'd built me a life raft and disguised it as an inheritance. I opened my laptop. Searched for financial advisors. Started making lists. Things to do.
Decisions to make.
Ways to honor what Marcus had given me. But first I needed to figure out who I was now. Not Marcus's wife. Not Kimberly's victim. Just Lorraine. 56 years old. Widowed twice. Protected once.
Free.
The sun set over Maple Street. My street. My house. My life. The one Marcus had fought to preserve even when he knew he was dying. I poured a glass of wine. Marcus's favorite red. Sat on the porch. Watched the neighborhood settle into evening. Tomorrow, I'd make decisions. Tomorrow, I'd plan the future. Tonight, I'd just sit here and miss him. And feel grateful. And try to understand how to carry this much love and this much loss at the same time. Because that's what inheritance really is. Not money. Not houses. Not revenge on ungrateful children. It's carrying forward what someone believed about you. What they thought you deserved. What they wanted your life to become. Marcus believed I deserved everything. And now I had to figure out how to believe it too. 6 months later, I was standing in Marcus's office, my office, when the doorbell rang. I'd sold the business to Rebecca.
Took the settlement.
Invested most of it. Donated a chunk to the hospital where Marcus and I met. Set aside money for a foundation I was building. One that helped widows navigate estate planning. Because I'd learned something. Most people don't protect their spouses the way Marcus protected me. And too many women end up homeless and broke because their husband's kids decide love doesn't count for anything. The doorbell rang again. Through the window, I saw her.
Kimberly.
Standing on my porch. No Drake. No attitude. Just her, looking smaller than I remembered. I almost didn't answer. Almost pretended I wasn't home. But Marcus's letter flashed through my mind. Maybe she'll rise to it. Maybe she'll resent it forever. That's her choice. But I've given her a chance. I opened the door. "Hi," she said. Her voice was different. Quieter.
Raw.
"Kimberly, I know I shouldn't be here. Patterson said any contact would." She stopped.
Took a breath.
"I'm not here to fight.
Or beg.
Or ask for anything. I needed you to know something." I waited. "I'm working." She said it like a confession. "At a bookstore. It's not glamorous. It's not what I thought I'd be doing at 34. But it's honest. And I'm trying." "That's good." "Drake's gone. Turns out he was only interested in the money he thought I was getting. Funny how that works." She laughed, but it was bitter. "I'm in therapy. The financial counseling Dad required. And regular therapy. Because I'm realizing I've been angry my whole life, and I didn't even know why." The wind picked up. She wrapped her arms around herself. "My therapist asked me something last week." She asked, "When's the last time someone told you no, and it was because they loved you?" And I couldn't answer. Because nobody ever did. My mom gave me everything. Dad gave me everything. Every boyfriend, every friend, everyone just gave me what I wanted to shut me up. Her eyes filled. Except him. At the end, Dad finally said no. And I hated him for it. I hated you for it. But he was right. God, Lorraine, I was such a nightmare. You were hurting. Don't. She shook her head hard. Don't make excuses for me. I was cruel. I was entitled. I threw your stuff on the lawn like you were garbage. And you. Her voice cracked. You didn't even fight back. You just walked away with his picture. Do you know how much that's haunted me? How dignified you were when I was being a monster. I didn't know what to say. I'm not asking for forgiveness, Kimberly continued. I don't deserve it. I'm not asking to be friends or family or anything. I just needed to say I'm sorry. Really sorry. For everything. And to say, she wiped her eyes. To say thank you. Thank you. For not contesting the will. For not taking the 20% too just because you could. For letting Dad's last gift to me actually be a gift instead of a punishment. She pulled an envelope from her purse. I wrote you a letter. Everything I wanted to say, but couldn't get out. You don't have to read it.
You can throw it away.
But I needed to write it anyway. She held it out. I took it. The monthly payments from Dad's estate? She continued. I'm saving half. Every month. Because someday, I want to pay you back for the funeral. You paid for everything. His casket, the service, the flowers. I didn't contribute a dime. I just showed up and played grieving daughter while you actually grieved. Kimberly, I'm not who Dad wanted me to be. Not yet. Maybe never. But I'm trying to be someone I can live with. Someone who doesn't just take. Someone who builds something. She stepped back. That's all. I'll go now. I won't bother you again. She turned to leave. Kimberly.
She stopped.
Looked back. Your dad loved you. Even when he was disappointed. Even when he set up the trust and the conditions. He loved you. Her face crumpled. I know. That's the worst part. I know. She walked to her car. A beat-up Honda. Not the BMW. She'd probably sold that months ago. I watched her drive away. Then I went inside and opened the letter. It was 8 pages. Handwritten.
Raw. Honest.
She talked about her childhood, her mom's indulgence, her fear that Marcus loved me more. She talked about Drake, about the money she stole, about watching her father die and realizing she'd wasted years being angry at ghosts. She talked about therapy, about learning she'd been depressed since her parents' divorce, about medication and hard conversations and realizing that being Marcus Mitchell's daughter didn't make her special. It just made her responsible for living up to a legacy she'd spent years trying to destroy. The last paragraph broke me. You loved my dad better than I ever did. I know that now. And instead of being grateful he found happiness, I try to burn it down.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry for every cruel word, every cold shoulder, every moment I made you feel like you didn't belong. You belonged more than I did. You earned your place. I was just born into mine, and assumed that was enough. I hope you're happy, Lorraine. I hope you travel and build your foundation and live every dream Dad wanted for you. You deserve it.
You always did.
Kimberly. I folded the letter carefully, put it in Marcus's desk drawer, right next to his letter to me. 2 letters. Father and daughter. Both trying to make peace with someone they'd hurt. I thought about calling her, texting, something, but I didn't. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Because forgiveness isn't always reconciliation. Sometimes it's just letting go of anger. Sometimes it's acknowledging someone's growth without inviting them back into your life. Marcus had given Kimberly a path. She was walking it. That was enough. And me? I had my own path now. One built on Marcus's love and my own strength. One that didn't require fixing broken people or martyring myself to prove I cared. I could forgive Kimberly. I could hope she found peace. But I didn't have to let her back in. Didn't have to make room for her in the life Marcus had so carefully preserved for me. That was my boundary. My choice. My inheritance. And it felt for the first time in 6 months like freedom. Spring came to Maple Street like a promise kept. The roses I'd planted with Marcus bloomed. The neighborhood kids played basketball in the driveway again. Mrs. Chun and I started having coffee every Thursday morning. Life settled into something new. Not better than before. You can't compare grief to happiness, but different. Livable. The foundation was real now. Mitchell Legacy Fund. I'd partnered with 3 estate attorneys and 2 financial planners. We helped widows and widowers navigate inheritance battles, offered free legal consultations, provided grief counseling. We'd helped 43 people in 6 months. 43 people who might have ended up like me, standing on their lawn watching their life get thrown away. Rebecca stopped by one afternoon. Brought blueprints. What's this? Your husband's last project. He never finished it. Community center for the West Side. Free after-school programs, job training, that kind of thing. The city approved it. We have funding. We break ground next month. She spread the plans across my kitchen table. I could see Marcus in every line. His belief that buildings should serve people. His conviction that architecture could change lives. We're naming it after him. The Marcus A. Mitchell Community Center. If that's okay with you. I traced the blueprint with my finger. Could almost hear him explaining his choices. Why this angle? Why that material? Why the windows faced east for morning light? It's perfect. There's a dedication ceremony. June 15th. We'd love for you to say something. About Marcus. About what he believed. I'd never been good at public speaking. Marcus was the storyteller. I just lived the stories. But maybe that was enough. Maybe living it gave me the right to tell it. I'll be there. After Rebecca left, I did something I'd been avoiding. I opened Marcus's laptop. His password was my birthday. Of course it was. His email was full of unread messages. Condolences I'd never seen. Business stuff. Spam. And one draft email. Unsent. Dated 3 days before he died. The subject line. For Lorraine when you're ready. My hands shook as I opened it.
Al.
I'm writing this at 2 a.m. because I can't sleep and my left arm feels weird, and I'm pretty sure my body's trying to tell me something I don't want to hear. If you're reading this, I didn't get to say goodbye.
I'm sorry about that.
I wanted more time. Wanted to take you to Ireland like we planned. Wanted to grow old and annoying together. Wanted to see your hair go gray and tell you it made you look distinguished. But if I've learned anything from designing buildings, it's that you can't control everything. Sometimes the foundation shifts. Sometimes the materials fail. Sometimes the thing you built with love still comes down. What matters is what you built while it stood. We built something good, didn't we? 12 years of ordinary magic. Sunday crosswords and bad TV and arguments about whether the thermostat was too high. I loved every second. Even the boring parts. Especially the boring parts. You're going to be okay without me. Better than okay. You're stronger than you think. Kinder than anyone I've ever met. And you deserve happiness even when I'm not there to give it to you. Don't spend too long grieving. I mean it. Grieve, sure. Miss me. Be sad. But then live, Lorraine. Date again if you want. Travel. Build that foundation you talked about. Adopt a dog. Take up painting. Whatever makes you feel alive. I'll be dead. I won't know. And even if there's some afterlife where I'm watching, I promise I'll be cheering you on. Not jealous. Not hurt. Just glad you're still going. That's what love is, isn't it? Wanting someone's happiness even when you can't be part of it. I love you. Past tense, because I'm dead. Present tense, because love doesn't stop. Future tense, because wherever you go, whatever you do, I'll love that version of you too. Thank you for 12 years. Thank you for making life worth living again. Thank you for being exactly who you are. Go be happy. It's the last thing I'm asking. I closed the laptop, stared at the ceiling, laughed through tears. Even dead, Marcus was taking care of me, giving me permission, telling me it was okay to move forward. That's when I made the decision. I called a realtor, listed the house. Not because I didn't love it, because I did. But it was Marcus's house. Marcus's dream. His architecture firm designed it. His hands built the bookshelf. His memory lived in every corner. I needed my own place. Something I chose. Something that was just mine. The foundation would continue. The community center would get built. Kimberly would keep getting her payments and hopefully keep growing. All of that would happen with or without me living in this specific house on this specific street. Marcus had given me the freedom to choose. Now I was choosing. The house sold in 3 weeks. Young couple. First baby on the way. They loved the built-in bookshelves and the kitchen windows and the neighborhood feel. They promised to take care of the roses. I bought a condo downtown. 10th floor. Floor-to-ceiling windows. View of the city Marcus helped build. I could see 3 of his buildings from my living room. Maybe that was morbid. Maybe it was perfect. I couldn't tell the difference anymore. Moving day was harder than I expected. Not because of the house. Because of what it represented. The final letting go. The last piece of our life together. Packed into boxes and driven away. Mrs. Chen hugged me on the porch. You'll visit? Every Thursday. Coffee's on me. I took one last walk through the empty rooms. They echoed. Ghosts of laughter. Ghosts of arguments. Ghosts of Marcus reading on the couch, me cooking in the kitchen, us existing together in comfortable silence. Thank you, I whispered to the walls, for everything. Then I locked the door, got in my car, drove toward my new life. At a stoplight, my phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. I heard you sold the house. I hope your new place brings you peace. K.
Kimberly.
Still keeping her distance. Still trying.
I didn't respond.
But I didn't delete it either. That night, in my new condo, surrounded by boxes I was too tired to unpack, I poured a glass of Marcus's favorite wine, stood at the window, watched the city lights flicker like stars brought down to earth. I'm doing it, I said out loud. To Marcus. To myself. To whoever was listening. I'm living. Just like you asked. The city didn't answer. But I felt something shift. Some weight I'd been carrying since the funeral. Maybe since the lawn explosion. Maybe since the first time Kimberly looked at me with cold eyes. Finally lifted. I was free. Not free from grief. Not free from memory. But free to build something new. Free to be Lorraine Mitchell. Not Marcus Mitchell's widow. Not Kimberly Mitchell's victim.
Just me.
And maybe, just maybe, that was enough. 1 year after Marcus died, I stood at the dedication ceremony for the Marcus A. Mitchell Community Center. The building was beautiful. Glass and steel and purpose. Kids were already using the playground. Adults lined up for job training registration. The after-school program had a waiting list. Marcus would have loved it. Would have walked through every room, adjusting angles in his head, suggesting impossible improvements. Rebecca handed me the microphone. Whenever you're ready. I looked at the crowd.
200 people.
Strangers and neighbors and Marcus's old colleagues. And in the back, half hidden behind a support beam, Kimberly. She'd come. Probably shouldn't have. Probably knew she wasn't really welcome. But she came anyway. Our eyes met. She didn't smile. Didn't wave. Just nodded once. Acknowledgement. Permission.
Goodbye.
I turned to the crowd. My husband Marcus built buildings. That's what his degree said. That's what his firm did. But really, he built possibilities. He believed architecture wasn't about walls and roofs. It was about creating space for people to become who they needed to be. My voice steadied, got stronger. This center? It's not just a building. It's Marcus saying you matter. Your kids matter. Your future matters. And I'm going to create a place where you can build it. I told them about Marcus. Not the architect. The man. The one who left reading glasses everywhere and made terrible puns and loved me when I thought I was done being loved. I told them about the foundation. About 43 families we'd helped. About plans to expand. About Marcus's belief that love should protect, not just in the moment, but forever. I didn't tell them about Kimberly. About the lawn. About the inheritance battle. That was private. That was ours. But I did say this. Marcus taught me that legacy isn't what you leave behind. It's what you build into people. It's the safety nets you create. The doors you open. The chances you give even when people don't deserve them. I looked at Kimberly. She was crying. He taught me that disappointment and love can exist in the same heart. That you can be hurt by someone and still want them to be okay. That grace isn't weakness. It's the hardest kind of strength. The crowd was silent, listening. So this building? It's not a memorial. It's a promise. A promise that Marcus's belief in second chances, in human potential, in building something that outlasts you, that promise continues. Through this center. Through the foundation. Through everyone who chooses to build instead of destroy. To protect instead of possess. To love instead of just claim ownership. I handed the microphone back to Rebecca. The crowd applauded. People came up after, shaking my hand, sharing their own stories. But I was watching Kimberly. She was leaving, slipping away before anyone noticed her. Kimberly. She stopped. Turned. I walked over. We stood there, two women connected by one dead man and 1,000 broken moments. Thank you for coming. I almost didn't. Her voice was rough. Didn't think I had the right. You're his daughter. You always have the right. Even after. I meant it. You're different now. I can see it. She nodded. Therapy's a bitch. But it works. We stood in awkward silence. Then she said, the speech. About second chances. That was for me, wasn't it? It was for everyone. Including you. She looked at the building. At the kids laughing on the playground. At the family streaming in for the open house. He would have been proud of this. He would have been proud of you too. For trying. Her eyes filled again. I don't know about that. I do. Because trying is the hardest part. Anyone can stay broken. It takes courage to rebuild. She wiped her face. I'm seeing someone. Dating, I mean. His name is Peter. He's a teacher. Makes about $30,000 a year and drives a 15-year-old Camry. And he's kind. Really kind. The kind of kind I never noticed before because I was too busy looking for rich and impressive. That's good, Kimberly. He doesn't know who my father was. Doesn't know about the inheritance or any of it. He just knows me. The bookstore version. The therapy version. The trying to be better version. She paused. I think I'm going to keep it that way for a while. Let him know the person I'm becoming, not the person I was. Smart. She shifted her weight. I don't expect us to be friends. Or family. I know I burned that bridge and salted the earth. Maybe not friends, I agreed. But not enemies either. Something in between. Something new. She nodded slowly. I can live with in between. So can I. She started to walk away, then stopped. Lorraine? One more thing. Yeah. I'm glad he found you. Really glad. He deserved someone who loved him the way you did. And you deserved someone who protected you the way he did. It was a good thing, what you two had. I'm sorry I tried to destroy it. Before I could respond, she was gone, walking toward her beat-up Honda, driving away from her father's legacy toward her own uncertain future. I watched her go, felt something close in my chest. Not forgiveness, exactly. Maybe acceptance. Maybe just the acknowledgement that people can change, even when you've given up on them. Even when they've given up on themselves. Rebecca appeared beside me. You okay?
Yeah.
I really am. The community center buzzed with life behind us. Marcus's final project. His last gift to a city he'd spent 40 years building. But it wasn't really his last gift, was it? His last gift was the foundation.
The trust.
The letter telling me to live. The ironclad will that protected me when he couldn't. The second chance he'd built into Kimberly's inheritance, hoping she'd become someone worth being. That was legacy. Not buildings or bank accounts. The space you create for people to grow. The safety you build into their futures. The love that continues protecting them long after you're gone. If you've made it this far in this story, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below. Tell me what you thought. Tell me if you've ever dealt with family betrayal or inheritance drama. Tell me if you believe people can really change, or if second chances are just pretty lies we tell ourselves to feel better. I read every comment. Every single one. Your stories matter. Your experiences matter. And sometimes, knowing you're not alone in the mess is the thing that gets you through. So comment below. Share this video if it meant something to you. And subscribe if you want more stories like this. Real, raw, complicated stories about how families break and sometimes, maybe, heal. 2 years after Marcus died, I was having coffee with Mrs. Chun when my phone rang. Private number. I almost didn't answer. Mrs. Mitchell? This is Jennifer Hartley from Ashwood Elementary. I'm calling about Kimberly Mitchell's emergency contact form. She listed you as a secondary contact for her son. Everything stopped. Her son? Yes, Oliver. He's 4. Wonderful little boy. Kimberly's having a medical emergency. Nothing life-threatening, but she's at the hospital and her boyfriend is out of town. She asked us to call you. Can you pick Oliver up? I should have said no. Should have explained that Kimberly and I weren't family. Weren't friends. Were barely even cordial. But I heard Marcus's voice in my head. Second chances. Grace. Building space for people to grow. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Oliver was tiny. Dark hair, like Marcus. Same serious eyes that studied everything like he was designing blueprints in his head. Are you Grandma Lorraine? He asked when I signed him out. My heart cracked. I'm Lorraine. A friend of your mom's. Mommy said if I met you, I should say thank you. She didn't tell me why, but she was very serious about it. He slipped his small hand into mine. So, thank you. You're welcome, Oliver. I took him for ice cream. He told me about preschool and his favorite dinosaurs and how his mom read him stories every night. He told me his teacher said his last name, Mitchell, was the same as the new building downtown. Was that his building? It was your grandfather's building, I said softly. He was a very good man. Mommy says so too. She says she wishes she'd been nicer to him when he was alive. She cries sometimes when she looks at his picture. Oh, Kimberly. My phone buzzed. Text from her. I'm so sorry. Appendicitis. Emergency surgery. Peter's flying back tonight. Can you keep Oliver until then? If not, I understand. You don't owe me anything. I looked at Oliver. He was studying his ice cream like it was architecture. Like the best way to eat it was a problem that required serious thought. He's fine. Take care of yourself. We'll be here when you're ready. I took Oliver back to my condo. He was fascinated by the city view, by the buildings, by the lights. Mommy says you were married to my grandpa, that you made him really happy. He made me really happy too. Good. Everyone should be happy. He said it like it was obvious. Like happiness was a right, not a privilege.
Kids.
They understand things adults forget. Peter picked Oliver up at midnight. Tall guy, gentle voice, worried eyes. He shook my hand like I was something precious and fragile. Thank you. Kimberly said, well, she said this was a lot to ask. That you didn't have to help. But you did anyway. Oliver's a good kid.
He is.
Kimberly's a good mom. She works hard at it. At all of it. He paused. She talks about you sometimes. About how you handled everything. She says you're the strongest person she knows. After they left, I stood at my window again. City lights. Marcus's buildings. The life I'd built from the wreckage. And I thought, this is it. This is what inheritance really means. Not money or houses or revenge. Not even justice or second chances. It's the ripples. The way one person's love creates space for another person's growth. The way protection becomes foundation becomes future. Marcus loved me. That love protected me. That protection gave me freedom. That freedom let me build something that helped 43 families. One of those families was Kimberly's. And now Kimberly was raising Oliver with therapy-learned tools and hard-won wisdom and the monthly payments that taught her to budget, plan, think beyond herself. And Oliver, Marcus's grandson, a little boy he never got to meet, was growing up with a mother who'd learned that love isn't possession. That family isn't ownership. That second chances are gifts you have to earn by changing everything about who you were. That was legacy. That was the building Marcus had really designed. Not community centers or houses on Maple Street, but the architecture of grace. The blueprint of love that continues protecting people long after you're gone. 3 days later, Kimberly sent flowers. No note, just white roses. Marcus's favorite. I put them on the mantel next to his photo. Next to the letter he'd written me. Next to the life he'd built that I was still living. And I whispered to his picture. We did it. Your plan worked. She's going to be okay. We're all going to be okay. The city lights flickered. The building stood. The foundation held. And somewhere in the space between grief and hope, between past and future, between who I was and who I was becoming, I felt it.
Peace.
Not the kind that means you forget. Not the kind that means it doesn't hurt anymore. The kind that means you survived. You protected what mattered. You built something that outlasted the pain. You loved someone well. And they loved you back well enough that even death couldn't destroy what you'd created together. That's the lesson, if there's one. That's what I learned standing on my lawn watching my life get thrown away, and then standing in a courtroom watching justice get served, and then standing at a window watching a city my husband built, holding the hand of a grandson he never met, thinking about a daughter who finally learned what her father had been trying to teach her all along. Love is architecture. It's building something that shelters people even when you're not there anymore. It's designing second chances into the blueprint. It's creating space for people to grow, even when they've disappointed you, even when they've hurt you, even when you've every right to walk away. It's Marcus leaving me everything because he knew I'd do something good with it. It's Kimberly finally becoming someone her father would be proud of, even though he's not here to see it. It's me, standing in my new life, teaching other widows how to protect themselves, building foundations that help people who thought they'd lost everything. It's Oliver, for years old, learning from his mother's mistakes before he's old enough to make them himself. It's the community center full of kids and families and second chances. It's all of it, connected. Built on the foundation of one man's love and one woman's dignity and one daughter's hard-won growth. That's what inheritance really is. And that's why, 2 years after Marcus died, I can finally say, I'm not just surviving anymore. I'm living.
Just like he asked me to.
Just like he knew I would. Just like he built his whole plan around. The buildings stand. The foundation holds. The love continues. And that's the only ending that matters. Thank you for staying with me through this whole journey. If this story touched you, if it made you think about your own family or your own second chances or your own grief, share it. Tell someone who needs to hear it, because we're all just trying to build something that lasts. We're all just trying to love well enough that it continues protecting people even when we're gone. Leave a comment. Share your story. And remember, some houses are built with wood and nails. Others are built with love and legal documents and ironclad wills. Both can shelter you, but only one will stand forever. This is Lorraine Mitchell.
And this is my story.
Thank you for listening.